Hey everyone, and welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah.
Glad you could join us for episode number 4.
This is the one where we like.
Yeah, this is the one where we dive into the struggles and, those successes and the big lessons from entrepreneurs who turned every no into a yes.
It's all about learning how you can do the same thing.
Yeah, and today we're going to unpack the incredible journey of Steve Jobs, like college dropout Steve, to really see how he became,
the Steve Jobs.
Exactly. And get this, we've got a bunch of articles, even a transcript from his Stanford speech, ready to unearth some serious insights.
Absolutely. Everyone knows Apple's success story.
Of course.
But to me, what's even more fascinating is how his early life, all those challenges he faced, shaped him into the revolutionary we know.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back. We got to start at the beginning.
Okay.
He was adopted, right? Like shortly after birth.
Yep, a pretty well-known fact.
It is. But there's this story from his childhood.
Oh, yeah.
That always kind of stuck with me. This girl asks him.
Oh, about being adopted.
Yeah. If it meant his real parents didn't want him. Like, imagine being a kid.
Wow.
And having to face that kind of question.
It's heavy stuff. You got to wonder if that experience, planted a seed.
Totally.
This drive to prove himself, achieve something big, almost like answering that question once and for all.
Yeah, almost like he had something to prove.
Huh?
And then boom, he drops out of Reed College.
Oh yeah, after just one semester.
One semester. Definitely not your average college student.
Well,
Makes you think about how formal education and that innovative spirit.
sometimes clash, yeah.
Clash, yeah.
Did he need to drop out to become Steve Jobs? Maybe not.
Right.
Could have been calculated, could have been youthful, who knows? But here's the thing.
Yeah.
He never stopped learning, kept auditing classes that grabbed his interest, including one,
Oh, I know you're going to say
calligraphy.
that. Right.
Who knew that would be crucial to the Macs design?
Crazy how life works.
He's
though.
like, what are the odds? He actually said, if I had never dropped in on that single calligraphy course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts.
Like, imagine the Mac without those iconic fonts.
Wild.
Totally different world, right?
Yeah.
Makes you think about all the skills and experiences we have that seem
Unrelated.
unrelated, yeah. Maybe they're just waiting for the right moment to click.
Like puzzle pieces.
Puzzle pieces, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we've got young Steve, full of ideas, unconventional learner. Then bam,
What?
he gets fired.
Oh, from Apple?
From Apple, the company he built. Can't even fathom.
Yeah.
It must have been a roller coaster of emotions.
Betrayal, anger, failure,
Yeah.
all of it,
It's
right?
easy to spiral there,
Totally. But Jobs, he does what he always does.
Which is,
Channels that energy into something new.
okay, I'm hooked.
He starts NXT, focused on these advanced computers. And then there's Pixar.
Pixar. Changed animation forever.
Toy Story.
Toy Story. I mean, come on. It's like getting fired led him to this whole other path.
Crazy, right?
But like the universe had other plans, and then guess what?
I'm on the edge of my seat,
Apple buys NXT.
bringing him back.
Full circle. Talk about a comeback story. He even said about getting fired. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Wow. Sometimes what seems like the worst thing turns out to be like the launching pad.
For something amazing.
Exactly. But this next chapter, it's not all smooth sailing.
Oh no, what happens?
2003, he gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and not just any kind, a really serious one.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the weight of that, We can't know what was going through his mind, but initially, he resists conventional treatment, goes for alternative therapies instead,
Really shows his independent nature, huh?
even when facing something so serious.
Right, like forging his own path no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even with this potentially life-ending illness.
You'd think he'd slow down.
Nope. Laser focus on Apple, his vision for the future.
He had this incredible quote about death. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose.
Like, make every moment count.
Yeah. Not about being morbid, but about that urgency,
Total focus.
And for Jobs, that was his work. It wasn't just a job.
Right.
It was everything. It was his passion.
Yeah, his purpose. And that brings us to his Stanford speech.
The one everyone talks about.
Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle.
Easier said than done, right?
Totally. So I gotta ask, are you doing what you love?
Ooh. That's a good question for everyone listening. If not, what's stopping you? What's the excuse?
Jobs didn't just talk the talk, he lived it.
He was obsessed with making those incredible products.
Beautiful, functional, intuitive.
And of course, we got to talk about that iconic line.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
More than just words, right? It sums up his whole approach.
Totally. Willingness to take risks, think different, never stop learning. Stay hungry, that's the ambition, the drive. Stay foolish, that's the curiosity, challenging the norm.
Never lose that spark, no matter what people say.
Exactly. And think about his journey. Dropping out, getting fired.
Yeah, he embodied those words.
He did. Never let fear dictate his choices, even when they seemed, well,
A little
a little crazy to everyone else.
So in this first part of our deep dive, we've gone from his childhood to getting fired and coming back stronger than ever. It's clear that Jobs' story, it's not this perfect rise to the top. It's messy. It's full of challenges, like life itself.
Right. I think that's what makes it relatable, inspiring.
Yeah. And this really struck me. Jobs was all about intuition. He said, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.
Wow, powerful stuff.
He was all about trusting that gut feeling, even when it seemed illogical or risky.
So here's a question for you, the listener.
I like where this is going.
Think of a time you followed your gut, even when it seemed like a bad idea, or everyone doubted you. What happened? What'd you learn? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. But for now, we're going to keep diving into the life and legacy of Steve Jobs.
As we keep going with this, one thing that really hits me is how Jobs connected those seemingly random experiences. It wasn't just a straight line to success, you know?
It's like he was always picking up new things.
Yeah, like puzzle pieces, not knowing how they'd fit.
And then, bam! Calligraphy inspires the Mac. His time at NXT shapes Apple's comeback.
Exactly. And it wasn't just tech either. Think about Pixar bringing that design sense, that storytelling, to animation.
Pixar, wow. Yeah. He saw potential where others didn't and wasn't afraid to, blend those worlds.
Totally. Breaking down boundaries.
It's like he had this radar for connections nobody else saw.
Yeah.
It makes you think, right, what if we explored different fields, different interests?
You never know what could click.
Who knows, maybe our own calligraphy class is out there waiting to spark something huge.
Right. Like, what if Jobs had just dismissed calligraphy as a hobby? Would we even HV the Mac as we know it?
Good point. So we've got this picture of Jobs, super driven, visionary, but he also had a reputation, right?
For being a bit intense.
A little, yeah. Demanding perfectionist, some might say.
He pushed people hard. Tons of stories about that laser focus, and yeah, sometimes the criticism was harsh.
Okay, real talk. Is that intensity sustainable? Can you achieve greatness without pushing people to the brink? Like, imagine being in a design meeting with him when something wasn't quite right.
I bet those are legendary. But seriously, it's a good question. His approach, it worked. Innovation, ambitious goals, all that. But what about the human cost?
Right. Where's the line? It's a good reminder there's no one way to lead. Maybe Jobs' style worked for him and Apple, but it doesn't mean it's the only way.
Finding that balance, demanding excellence, but also being supportive, that's tough.
It really is. And honestly, Jobs' story, it's inspiring, but it also makes us think critically about our own styles. What kind of impact do we want to have on people around us?
Are we building people UP or accidentally holding them back in the name of perfection?
That's a question worth asking.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the products themselves. Because, come on, that's what he's known for.
Right, the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone.
It's like he was obsessed with simplicity, elegance, that intuitive design.
He famously said, design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works.
And it's true. He wanted tech to be accessible, user-friendly, not something you got to wrestle with.
Seamlessly integrated into life.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And functional. Back then, that was revolutionary. Computers used to be these big, intimidating things.
Right.
He changed that. Tech became something anyone could use and actually enjoy.
That shift in perception is huge E. Jobs understood it wasn't just about specs and features.
It was the feeling.
Yeah, the emotional connection people form with their
He
devices.
saw that people wanted tech that reflected them, their style, something that felt good to hold, easy to use,
An extension of themselves.
not just a tool. Okay, and speaking of iconic products, we got EDA talk about the iPod. That little thing, it revolutionized music, period.
Think about it. Before the iPod, listening to music on the go, what a pain.
Oh, tell me about it.
Bulky CD players, skipping discs, the tangled headphones.
Ugh, the worst.
Jobs saw the chance to make it all simpler, smoother, more enjoyable.
1,000 songs in your pocket.
Exactly. And he delivered. Sleek, intuitive, enough storage for, like, your whole library.
Music everywhere.
And don't forget the ecosystem around it. iTunes, super easy to buy, organize, sync.
He knew to really change the game, it had to be a complete solution.
iPod, iTunes, the store.
Changed the music industry forever.
Disrupted record labels, gave artists new ways to connect with fans.
He saw a problem, portable music being a hassle, and he was like, nope, I'm fixing this.
Classic Jobs.
And he did. Okay, so we've got the iPod, huge EE.
Yeah.
But then the iPhone comes along and it's like even bigger, you know?
So they put a computer in your pocket.
Exactly. Hard to imagine life without smartphones now. But back in 2007, when it came out,
Total game changer.
back then, cell phones were just for calls, texts, maybe some grainy photos.
Jobs envisioned something way more. Combine the computer's power with the phone's portability, and of course,
Make it beautiful, intuitive, fun.
the whole package.
And he did it. The touch screen, the apps, how seamlessly it worked with other Apple stuff. It set a new standard.
And it wasn't just a phone.
Right.
It was this platform for innovation. Developers everywhere creating apps, expanding what the iPhone could do.
It's mind-blowing how it's transformed everything.
Communication, how we get information, interact with the world.
We use it for everything. Navigation, social media, shopping, banking, fitness.
It's like a personal assistant, entertainment center, window to the world, all rolled into one.
And it all came from his vision to create something more than just a phone.
He saw how it could change how we live.
Jobs had this uncanny ability to see what people would want before they even knew it.
He wasn't always right, though.
Oh yeah, like with the tablet.
He dismissed the idea at first, and then boom, the iPad comes out. Massive success.
It shows even the best can be wrong. And sometimes those best ideas come from challenging your own thinking.
But his track record, pretty amazing.
Okay, we've talked iPod, iPhone. There's another aspect of his legacy that's interesting. His emphasis on storytelling.
Storytelling, that's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think Apple, right?
I know, but think about it. He was a master storyteller. Product launches, presentations, even interviews.
Not just facts and figures.
He wove these narratives that just drew people in.
He knew people don't just buy products, they buy emotions, aspirations, stories.
He wanted Apple to be part of a bigger story.
Creativity, innovation, human potential.
Like the Think Different campaign.
Yeah.
Not just selling computers, it was celebrating those who dared to be different.
The rebels, the misfits.
The ones who saw the world in a new way.
Embracing individuality, the power of ideas. Jobs made tech personal, relatable, even aspirational.
And that's a lesson for everyone, right? Business, marketing, life, telling compelling stories, it matters.
Big time. It's how you connect with people, inspire them.
Find that human element, that emotional core. And Jobs, he was a master at tapping into that.
Whether it was the joy of music on the go or that feeling of empowerment from having a powerful computer in your pocket.
He made people feel something. And that's a big reason why Apple has such passionate fans.
They're not just buying gadgets, they're buying into that story, that vision, that way of life.
Speaking of vision, we can't forget his relentless pursuit of perfection. Meticulous attention to detail, those unwavering standards.
Oh yeah, stories about him obsessing over tiny details like the curve of an edge or the exact color.
I heard he once spent weeks tweaking a cardboard box design.
Because it wasn't elegant enough.
Seriously, I mean, high standards are great, but was it too much?
Well, it's both, right? It pushed Apple to create these amazingly designed products,
The best in the world.
but it also caused delays, frustrations, conflicts.
You gotta acknowledge that demanding nature, it wasn't always easy to deal with.
Right. So is there a point where perfectionism becomes a bad thing? Can you achieve greatness without driving everyone nuts?
That's the question. Jobs' story shows the importance of high standards, attention to detail, but also that you can't get paralyzed by perfection.
It's a balance, striving for excellence, but also knowing nothing's ever going to be absolutely perfect.
And you know what's fascinating? Even with that focus on perfection, he built this incredible sense of community around Apple products.
Apple fans, they're legendary.
They line up for hours for the new iPhone, treat product launches like concerts.
Those online discussions, passionate.
Jobs knew people crave belonging, being part of something bigger.
He made Apple more than a company. It was a tribe, a movement.
Apple products weren't just gadgets, they were symbols. Creativity, innovation, that shared commitment to excellence.
He reinforced that community feeling through his language, the experiences he created, the values he emphasized.
Think about how they're marketed. Not just tools, but gateways to this world of creativity connection.
Self-expression.
Jobs got it. People don't just buy products, they buy into a lifestyle, an identity.
It's offering them something they can believe in, be a part of.
Powerful concept. Whether you're building a brand, leading a team, or just connecting with people.
Creating a shared experience, that sense of belonging.
And speaking of shared experiences, I think Jobs' focus on simplicity, that's a huge part of his legacy.
Simplicity sounds counterintuitive, right? Tech keeps getting more complex.
Exactly, that's why it was so revolutionary.
He famously said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication."
He saw tech getting too complicated, too overwhelming.
He wanted to cut through the clutter, reveal the essence of what made a product great.
Make tech intuitive, easy, something anyone could understand instantly.
And that's clear in all the iconic Apple products.
The iMac's design, the iPhone's interface.
Jobs knew true innovation wasn't adding more features, it was making things easier, more enjoyable.
Like the iPod's click wheel,
So simple, but brilliant.
or the iPhone's touchscreen. Anyone could pick it up and figure it out.
His focus on simplicity, it changed the game. Made tech more accessible, more enjoyable, more human, really.
It's a good reminder for all of us. Sometimes, the simplest solutions are the most powerful.
Whether we're designing products, creating content, anything. Cut the clutter, focus on the essence, make it easy for people to connect.
So we've talked about his vision, design, leadership, but there's this almost uncanny ability he had to predict the future.
It's like he had a sixth sense for where tech was going, what people would want.
Like he could see the future, He connected the dots, saw the big picture, how tech would change the world in ways most of us couldn't even imagine.
The iPod, 2001, years before digital music took over. The iPhone, 2007. Most phones back then were like dinosaurs.
Clunky, limited.
But he saw what they could become.
It was like he had a crystal ball or something. And even when he was wrong, like with the tablet at first.
His track record is amazing.
It wasn't just tech knowledge, though. It was that deep understanding of people.
He knew what would resonate, what would excite them.
Make their lives better.
His legacy is all about that power of vision, challenging assumptions, creating products that truly make a difference. Okay, so Jobs was a visionary, a design genius, but he was also a fighter.
Oh yeah, he faced so many setbacks, challenges,
Countless.
but he never gave up on what he believed in.
Remember when he was forced out of Apple?
The company AG started,
Most people would just walked away, Licked their wounds, moved on.
but not Jobs. He took all that frustration, anger, and channeled it into NXT,
Which led him back to Apple.
the comeback kid.
Yeah,
And when he got diagnosed with cancer,
he didn't give up.
he kept fighting, kept working, never lost that passion.
He once said, "I'm convinced that about half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance."
He lived that quote, that's for sure. It's inspiring. It shows. Even when things seem impossible,
You can keep going.
overcome those obstacles and achieve your goals.
Sometimes the biggest achievements come after the toughest challenges.
So true. Okay, so we've talked about his determination, vision, focus on simplicity. But there's one more quality, I think, that was key to his success. His charisma.
Charisma, oh, absolutely. He had this magnetism, drew people
He
in,
could command a room, inspire his team.
convinced the world that Apple products were more than just gadgets. They were objects of desire, symbols of innovation.
Key to a better future.
You saw it in everything. The launches, the presentations, even just talking to someone,
He wasn't just giving information, he was connecting with people on a deeper level.
making them believe.
And that charisma, it played a huge role in his success.
Built that loyal following, attracted the best talent.
Created a brand people were truly passionate about. It's fascinating how powerful charisma can be.
In business, in life.
It's not just about being likable.
Yeah.
It's about having that vision, passion, and being able to share it in a way that inspires ours.
Being authentic, vulnerable, sharing your story.
Jobs' charisma, it wasn't just something he was born with, it was something he worked on. Through hard work, practice, understanding people.
He knew how to make people feel seen, heard.
That's a lesson for all of us. Charisma isn't a show, it's being genuine, believing in what you do and sharing that passion. Okay, charisma, determination, vision. Let's not forget his commitment to innovation.
He was never satisfied with the status quo.
Always pushing, always looking to make things better.
He said innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Believe to really make an impact, you got to be constantly innovating, challenging those assumptions.
And then that was at the core of everything Apple did.
From the very first Apple computer to the iPod, the iPhone, pushing boundaries, creating groundbreaking products,
They took risks, experimented, weren't afraid to fail.
and learned from those mistakes.
Jobs knew. Innovation wasn't just about the ideas, it was about having the guts to bring them to life.
Even when everyone else doubted you.
Think about the iPod.
Risky at the time.
Digital music was so new, lots of people thought it would flop.
But Jobs, he saw the potential, believed, and made it happen.
And boom, revolutionized the music industry.
Paved the way for everything we see today.
Jobs' commitment to innovation, it was contagious.
Inspired his team, attracted top talent,
Created a culture where creativity and risk-taking were celebrated.
and that's relevant to everyone, no matter what you do.
Entrepreneur, artist, student, anyone who wants to make a difference. Jobs showed us innovation is the key to progress.
The only limit is our own imagination.
Okay, we've talked big picture stuff, but let's zoom in on something he really emphasized. The user experience.
User experience, you mean making sure those products were not only functional, but a joy to use.
Exactly. He was obsessed with creating that seamless, intuitive, enjoyable experience. Tech should be easy, aesthetically pleasing, something that makes life better.
He said, you've got to start with the customer experience and work back toward the technology, not the other way around.
Technology serving humanity, not the other way around.
It was woven into every Apple product.
They obsessed over details, even the smallest interactions.
Testing, refining, until it was just right.
And it worked. That focus on user experience, it set them apart.
Created a loyal following who appreciated that commitment to making tech both beautiful and easy.
It's a lesson for anyone who creates anything. A product, a service, even art.
The user experience, it matters.
Jobs knew. To really connect with people, make a difference, you got to create something they don't just need, but something they want to use.
Okay, we've touched on a lot of positive stuff, but we got to talk about the more challenging parts too.
Right, like his management style.
Definitely been a lot of debate about that.
Jobs was known for being demanding, sometimes even harsh.
Perfectionist, high expectations, and he let people know when they weren't meeting them.
Tons of stories about him yelling, throwing tantrums, creating this high-pressure environment.
Not for everyone, that's for sure.
This makes you think, was all that intensity necessary? Could he have achieved the same success without being so tough on people?
Tough question. On one hand, it pushed people to do incredible things,
Right.
but there was a cost. We gotta acknowledge, sometimes his behavior was just unacceptable. There are healthier ways to lead.
For sure. Leadership is complex, no one right way. What worked for him might not work for everyone.
Finding that balance, high standards, A&D, empathy, respect, that's key.
It's about pushing people to be their best without crushing them.
Exactly. So looking back at Jobs' life, it's clear, complicated figure.
Visionary leader, brilliant innovator, demanding perfectionist.
And also a flawed human being.
Made mistakes, hurt people, sometimes acted in ways that were just not okay.
We gotta acknowledge it all, the good and the bad. But even with his flaws, the impact he had, undeniable.
He changed how we think about technology.
Created products we use every day.
Inspired so many people.
He said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition.
Maybe the most valuable lesson is to live a life true to ourselves.
Pursue our passions, challenge the status quo.
Never give up on those dreams.
His life showed us what human ingenuity can do, the importance of following your heart, creating something that makes a real difference.
Okay, from the iPod and iPhone to his leadership, his legacy, what are your big takeaways?
For me, it's realizing that even someone like Steve Jobs, he had challenges, setbacks, self-doubt. His story shows success isn't a straight line, and it's often those tough times that shape us.
Totally agree. What inspires ME is that even with all that pressure, he never lost sight of his vision, his passion.
Right. And he reminds us it's okay to be different, think different, challenge the rules, chase those foolish ideas.
You know, it's amazing how Jobs' influence goes way beyond just tech.
It's true, he really got people, even when he was building these futuristic gadgets.
He often talked about how technology and the liberal arts...
They're connected.
Yeah. He didn't see them as separate at all. He thought technology, at its best, needs that creativity, empathy, that understanding of what it means to be human.
Like it has to have a soul, almost.
Yeah, exactly. He saw Apple products as tools to empower people,
Helps them express themselves.
connect with the world in a real way.
It wasn't just building machines, it was tapping into something much deeper.
Remember? Think different.
Oh, classic.
It wasn't just a slogan, it was celebrating those who
The rebels.
The rebels, yeah. The misfits, those who challenged the way things were.
Saw the world in a new way.
Exactly. It was about individuality, creativity, the power of ideas.
And that message, it went beyond just tech people.
Way beyond.
Sure.
Jobs understood that people want more than just stuff. They want experiences, meaning to be part of something bigger.
He built a brand that spoke to that stood for something more.
It's a huge lesson for anyone who wants to create something that matters, right?
For sure. Whether it's a company, a product, even just sharing your ideas.
It's about that emotional connection, giving people something they can believe in.
Something they can be part of.
Okay, and now we come to a part of his story that's both inspiring and really tough. His battle with cancer.
Yeah. It reminds us that even someone like Steve Jobs,
with all his brilliance, success,
he was still vulnerable.
he was diagnosed with that rare form of pancreatic cancer back in 2003. And at first,
He resisted conventional treatment.
went for alternative therapies instead.
People have debated that decision a lot.
Yeah, we'll never know for sure what impact it had.
But one thing's clear, he faced it head on with that same determination and focus he brought to everything else.
He had surgery, chemo, and through it all, he led Apple through this incredible period of growth.
It's remarkable.
His public appearances became less frequent,
His appearance changed.
but that spirit, that drive, it never went away.
Never.
There's this quote from him, I always think about it. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose.
Powerful. Like, live with intention. Don't let fear hold you back.
Jobs' fight with cancer, it was very public, and it resonated with so many people. It showed that even when things are really tough,
You can still find meaning.
make a difference.
Leave a legacy.
And that's what he did. He lived an extraordinary life.
He challenged us, inspired us.
To think differently, dream bigger, never settle.
His story, it's about human ingenuity, following your heart.
Creating something that makes a real difference in the world.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this feeling, awe, inspiration, gratitude. He reminded us anything's possible.
If we have the courage to dream
The determination to follow our passions.
and the willingness to embrace the unexpected.
He said the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So the question for all us is,
What will you change?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
A perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the life and legacy of Steve Jobs.
Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, stay foolish.